The next MCU film coming down the pipeline is none other than the Captain Marvel movie, a film shrouded in mystery but based on the details that we already know, has a ton of potential to shake up the MCU, and set some interesting stakes for the showdown with Thanos in the upcoming Avengers 4. So, naturally, people have a lot of ideas about what the movie will entail, and how Carol Danvers will be brought into the fray. So today we are exploring some of these ideas with our list of the top 10 Captain Marvel fan theories. And of course, there's a ton of MCU spoilers in this video, especially for Infinity War and Ant-Man and the Wasp. You've been warned. Also maybe potentially for Captain Marvel, because we take a lot of guesses at what happens in the movie. Also, before we begin, we want to give a major shout out to our sponsor this video, Wix. Wix is an awesome website building platform that lets you build your dream website, whether you're a newbie to web building, a novice, a designer, or a professional web builder. It's a platform that gives you total creative freedom, where you have infinite design possibilities with only your imagination limiting you. Now if you're wondering, why do I need a website? Well, here's why. Having your own website to connect globally with others is super key in this technological day and age, and lets you spread the word on what you do, whether it's your business, your creative portfolio, or a fan site that connects you to others who have the same interests and loves as you do. We even made a website on Wix of our own, www.top10nerdfantheories.com, where you guys can submit your own fan theories for us to check out. So if building a website tickles your fancy, go check them out. Link in the video description below. And be sure to check out our own Top 10 Nerd Fan Theories website too while you're at it. But now, on to the Captain Marvel fan theories. Starting us off in at number 10, Captain Marvel will wield the Gauntlet. This theory suggests that Captain Marvel will be capable of wielding the Infinity Gauntlet. Marvel Studios has revealed that Captain Marvel will be the strongest superhero in the MCU that we've seen to date. So what are the chances that she'd be able to wield the Gauntlet though? Well, our heroes need to reverse Thanos' actions somehow. And for some speculators, Captain Marvel is the Avengers' best bet when it comes to wielding power that immense. That being said, there's also a very convincing argument that suggests the Avengers will be working together to travel back in time and create their own Infinity Gauntlet in order to strip Thanos of his powers. If that's the case, Carol would be a good candidate to wield it, although many think that Tony Stark is destined to do so, considering him and Thanos have so many parallels. Up next, number 9, Nick Fury loses his eye. Ever since Nick Fury was introduced into the MCU, the character has had that eye patch on his face. Over the years, we've gotten a glimpse of what it looks like under there, and it ain't pretty. Clearly a battle wound. Now in the comics, Fury's lost eye is explained as being the result of a shrapnel injury during World War II, which caused him to lose his eyesight in that eye over the years. But the MCU, on the other hand, hasn't offered an explanation of yet, leading most people to believe that we'll get to see how it happens in Captain Marvel's film, especially since he's not wearing that eye patch. Captain Marvel will be set in the 1990s and Fury will be in it, making it the perfect opportunity to show audiences how that went down, and to create a backstory bond between him and Danvers. From the first Captain Marvel trailer that's been released, it looks as if Nick and Carol may go rogue, with him dressed down in civilian clothes and him seemingly taking her into an empty SHIELD medical facility to examine Skrulls, if that interpretation of the trailer is correct. Which, by the way, if you're curious about what that trailer might mean, we have a video on our channel that explains everything, from Easter eggs to details you may have missed, and why she's punching a grandma. So definitely go check it out after you watch this video, guys. Up next, number 8, the Doctor Strange connection. A very popular theory about Captain Marvel's film is that Doctor Strange will make a cameo in it, time traveling back to speak to her in order to put his plan in motion for defeating Thanos. But how can he do that without the Time Stone? He handed it over to Thanos, remember? Some people believe that when Strange was looking through those 14,605 realities, seeing that there was only one possible chance for victory, he used the Time Stone to quickly time travel through astral projection to contact Captain Marvel. Now, despite this theory's popularity, it seems that Strange would likely do something else with his time. It also doesn't really make sense narratively to have both Strange and Fury contact Captain Marvel, considering Fury sends out a distress call to her at the end of the movie in the post-credit scene. That being said, maybe Strange has a different purpose for contacting her that isn't just a call for aid. But to be fair, there are a lot of other MCU cameos in this movie. Ronan the Accuser, Korath, Phil Coulson, there's a lot. So maybe not having Doctor Strange in it isn't the worst thing. Coming up at 7, the other timelines. One theory from a redditor named Mattster00 dives deeper into the 14 million plus realities that Doctor Strange looked into while hanging out on Titan prior to fighting Thanos. It suggests that because Nick Fury managed to use the space beeper to contact Captain Marvel before getting dusted, that's the key moment that will save all of the galaxy. In other realities, Fury wasn't able to get to the beeper in time to contact her, and her presence will be critical if Thanos is to be defeated in Avengers 4. This also suggests that Captain Marvel is the one who will defeat Thanos, something that the Captain Marvel to her prior, Mar-Vell, was able to do in the past, but also prior to Thanos getting his mitts on the Infinity Gauntlet. That being said, he's got the Infinity Gauntlet, so Captain Marvel and the rest of the team better have a pretty substantial plan in order to take him on. On the flip side of that, while this theory is probable, it kinda seems like Strange looked through all of the possible outcomes for the battle that takes place in Infinity War, rather than its aftermath and the attempts to reverse the correct damage caused. So, who knows? Anything is possible. Moving on to number 6, Comics, Vormir, and the Soul Stone. According to Marvel Studios, Captain Marvel is very much a cosmic film that also has earthbound elements, and if the trailer showed us anything, that's pretty darn true. Considering its plot will revolve around the Kree-Skrull War, it wouldn't be surprising if Carol starts out in outer space and then ends up on Earth, which is what the trailer kind of implied. But there might even be more traveling throughout the galaxy. Now, Carol's origin in the comics has her gaining powers when an explosion goes off that bonds her DNA with Kree DNA thanks to Mar-Vell. We also know that we'll be seeing the return of two deceased Kree characters, Ronan the Accuser and Korath the Pursuer. But this theory is concerned with something else that is within Kree territory, and wasn't fully explained or explored in the Infinity War film, Vormir. Leading up to Infinity War, there was a lot of debate about where on Earth, or rather in the galaxy, the Soul Stone was hidden. Turns out it was on Vormir, a planet that's pretty obscure in the comics and home to lizard-esque creatures that were only but a blip in the adventures of the Avengers in the 70s. But the interesting thing about Vormir, as pointed out by the website The Wrap, is that it's located in Kree space, which would put it within range of where Carol Danvers will likely end up in the film. In Avengers issue 124, where the lizard worm creature appears, who is named Starstalker, we get a lengthy bit of dialogue with it describing its story, explaining that it visited a planet where Kree had exiled pacifist political dissidents. And the planet's description matches up pretty well with what we saw in Vormir in Infinity War. Now, those dissidents are known as the Priests of Pama. All in all, pretty obscure stuff. But considering Marvel Studios already used Vormir in the first place, hey, there could be some ties there. We could travel more into the obscure. Who knows, could be a fun time. This theory suggests that perhaps the origin of how the Soul Stone got there will be revealed in the Captain Marvel movie, and might even tie into how Red Skull ended up there too. We also know that we'll be on the Kree planet Hala for part of the film. We see Carol in the trailer looking out across Kree-Lar, so perhaps there might be a connection there. Moving on to number 5, the Quantum Realm. There's a lot of theories out there attempting to explain where Captain Marvel has been in between her feature film and now. There's been a whole lot of crazy things go down on Earth, but none of which she was present for. Being the strongest superhero to enter the MCU and having Nick Fury aware of her existence, you think she would have been able to lend a hand during the Battle of New York, right? Well, this theory suggests that she's been a bit preoccupied with the Quantum Realm, and that's where she's been at the last few decades. In Ant-Man and the Wasp, we learned that the Quantum Realm has different levels to its plane of existence. Janet was rescued from the Wastelands being the Void, so we can assume that it sort of operates in a circular way. The deeper you get into the realm, the more the laws of reality cease to exist. Now, the quantum physicist consultant for Marvel, Dr. Spiros Mikalakis, noted that, I quote, "There are different ways that some of these ideas appear on screen in the next few years, not just for Ant-Man but also for Captain Marvel and all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe." So Ant-Man and the Wasp also proved that there's a way to transmit signals into the quantum realm and communicate, as we saw in the post-credit scene, although poor Scott he doesn't have any communication with Hank. That could be essential to understanding how Fury could communicate with Carol when she's so far away. Hank Pym did used to work for S.H.I.E.L.D. after all, so there's no doubt that his technology, minus his particles, would still be being put to good use at S.H.I.E.L.D. by the time the 90s and Fury rolled around. But why exactly is Carol in the quantum realm is another question. Could she be using it as a means of transportation, or investigating something further? Guess we'll have to wait and see if this one pans out. Perhaps she'll be introduced in the quantum realm and she's the one responsible for helping Ant-Man get out. Although, it seems more likely that he might have a regulator on him in order to pull the same trick that he pulled at the end of his first film, despite not really having much of a memory about what went down afterwards. Who knows? We'll see. He'll get out though, we're certain. And actually, the leaked photos showed him with Captain America and Iron Man and Hulk, so he most definitely gets out. Moving on to number 4, Norman Osborn. This one's pretty crazy. So, Spider-Man, who was previously owned by Sony, was integrated into the MCU recently, and fans really dug the way that he was depicted. The MCU has made a few changes to the character, all in all we're pretty swell though. But one thing fans noticed was that this Peter Parker's story skipped over the typical origin story, having introduced the character in Civil War already having his abilities. Marvel also chose to introduce the Vulture as Spidey's first villain, and teased at the Scorpion too. But no Green Goblin, who is Parker's arch-nemesis. This theory though suggests that Captain Marvel will be the bridge to introducing the Osborn family into the MCU, specifically Norman Osborn. Currently in the MCU, a few of the roles that Osborn fulfills in Spider-Man's mythos are already covered. The Vulture is a big green flying foe who turns out to be a father of one of Peter's friends. Tony Stark is the rich, intelligent mentor. Now the MCU is known for taking creative liberties, so perhaps we might get to see a different kind of Norman Osborn debut in the MCU. This theory though, by Redditor Neil Kenneth, explores the idea that Captain Marvel will encounter a Skrull who has come to Earth secretly, and takes the form of Norman Osborn, who has secretly arranged for his son Harry to be roommates with Peter Parker. He's been placed on Earth as part of the Secret Invasion storyline, but goes rogue, having built up an agenda of his own over the years. Plus, Skrulls in their base state kind of share a resemblance to the Green Goblin. Having a Skrull make a cameo in Captain Marvel who turns out to be Osborn could be a pretty great way of integrating the character into the mix. Also worth noting, if you've been keeping up with the news, you're probably aware that Disney and Fox are merging, and Disney finally has access to the rights for certain characters it hasn't been able to tap into for a long time. This includes the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Deadpool. While many people figure Deadpool and the X-Force will remain canon, it's likely that the X-Men, and almost certainly the Fantastic Four, will get an MCU reboot. So naturally there's been a lot of talk about how these characters will be integrated too. Won't all be integrated through Captain Marvel though, that's for damn sure. But maybe Norman Osborn. And at number 3, the Kree have been brainwashing Carol. Thanks to the release of the first Captain Marvel trailer, we've gotten a better glimpse at how Carol's origin story will be reworked. And the most curious thing that fans noticed, aside from her punching a grandma that is clearly a Skrull, is that she doesn't remember her life on Earth. She states in the trailer that she keeps having flashes of a life on Earth, which is then followed by an epic rotating shot of Carol restrained in a machine in which energy is zapped into her temples, implying that some sort of tampering has happened with her mind. Perhaps she's actually a part of the Star Force unwillingly, or works for them, only to have her memory continuously wiped, in a similar fashion to what Bucky Barnes underwent as the Winter Soldier. Either way, she doesn't remember her life on Earth at the start of the film, and we're certain that her memory does come back at one point, inspiring her to leave the Star Force and take on the Captain Marvel mantle. As I mentioned before, we've actually done a video that breaks this down and the trailer and all of its fun details, so definitely check that out. It also includes a discussion about the theory that is in our next number. In at 2, Mar-Vell is the villain. So how exactly did Carol end up on Hala and Kree-Lar? Well, if her origin has any tie to the comics, the theory is that Mar-Vell crash landed on Earth, which is what gave her powers, and then returned to outer space with the now altered Carol. That's a possible answer. But there's something more intriguing about that. There's a shot towards the end of the trailer in which Carol, now in her Captain Marvel uniform, faces off against an out-of-focus character, with the shot emphasizing her fists clenching. It looks a whole hell of a lot like Jude Law, who, according to popular belief, is Mar-Vell. More on that in a second though. This has spawned the theory that perhaps Mar-Vell is the real villain of the movie instead of the Skrull threat, with the latter being a B-plot that will have ties into the MCU, which will probably be more so revealed in the next phase after Thanos is dealt with. Now this could mean that Mar-Vell has kept Carol there, using her powers as part of the Star Force, and throughout the course of the film she'll unravel his betrayal, having chased a Skrull to Earth by accident. This would also be an easy way to write out the Mar-Vell character from the MCU early on and not have to worry about that character's history from the comics complicating things. Now, that being said, there has been an argument for Jude Law playing another Kree character that isn't Mar-Vell, Yon-Rogg, who was a military officer sent to Earth by the Supreme Intelligence, who was a member of the Star Force in the comics. Yon-Rogg fought beside Mar-Vell but would later turn on him, and also conspired with Ronan to murder the hero. And if you look at how Jude Law appears in the movie, it doesn't seem like it's all that much of a long shot. That being said, when the casting for Law was announced, news outlets were printing that his character was Dr. Walter Lawson, Mar-Vell's alter ego. Perhaps the MCU is switching this up and combining the characters, with the intention of making Law's character the real antagonist. It would also be a much tidier way to just never talk about Mar-Vell and let Carol just be the only Captain Marvel. And finally, in at number 1, Secret Invasion. This is perhaps one of our favorite theories about Captain Marvel right now. So at the end of Infinity War, we saw Nick Fury get out that space beeper and send out that distress call, and the screen of the beeper then flashed the Captain Marvel logo. While it gave us some hope that not all was lost after Thanos wiped out half of all living things, it did raise a lot of questions. If Fury could communicate with Carol Danvers, why is he not called upon her sooner? And where has she been for the past 10 to 20 years? This theory suggests that Captain Marvel was absent because she was out on another mission, a mission that involved saving the galaxy, not just Earth. So let's jump back to 2008 for a sec. Marvel had a comic book crossover event called Secret Invasion. Its premise was that the Skrulls had been undergoing a long-term invasion of Earth by secretly replacing key figures and characters with Skrull agents. Considering the Skrulls' involvement and introduction into the MCU via the Captain Marvel movie, could this be a segue into a much larger scale Secret Invasion plotline, where Captain Marvel must travel through time and space via the quantum realm to eliminate Skrull agents, all in order to save the galaxy from this secret takeover? Perhaps that's why Nick Fury hasn't called upon her until now, either not fully understanding the galactic threat that Thanos poses, or believing that perhaps the Skrulls have something to do with the snap, which is what the Krees actually believed in the Infinity Gauntlet comic. Fury has called upon her to come save the galaxy. She's meant to be the most powerful superhero in the MCU to date, which only further reinforces this idea that she's taking care of something much bigger. In addition to that, if the theory that Captain Marvel is meant to lead the Avengers moving onwards, since many people think that Steve Rogers is gonna be bye-bye in Avengers 4, using the power of the Infinity Gauntlet could help put an end to the Skrull threat. But that is a whole other can of worms. It's also worth noting that it's been revealed that Captain Marvel is part of the elite military team Star Force on the Kree planet of Hala, so perhaps they have something to do with eliminating the Skrull threat, and are the reason why she's been away from Earth too, which I think the latter is pretty obvious. Alright, there we have it friends. Which of these theories do you think has a solid chance of being accurate? My money is definitely on the last one. Give us a shout in those comments below friends. And before you guys go, one more major thank you to our sponsor for this video, Wix. Be sure to check them out in the video description below, and be sure to check out our own website that we made with Wix, www.top10nerdfantheories.com. Submit your own Captain Marvel fan theories to us and we'll check them out. If you dug this video, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for all things MCU, and all things Captain Marvel, including fan theories, lists, and everything else under the sun. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll catch you on the next video.